Greetings and welcome everybody to the Jane Live on a Thursday. Today we're talking about the long-term effects of COVID and people who are traumatized by, post-operative, post the IV. So let's dive into this. I look at our healing options, and I'm going to present to you a protocol that I've put together, which we're seeing results with every time. And, it's based on practical evidence, research, and measured information. And that's the most important. So those are the three elements of evidence-based medicine. And of course, it's 100% natural, and everything we do no harm. So we really are addressing all the areas that need to be addressed. And I'm very proud to be able to present this to you today. And I'm going to be sharing also some of the common side effects. I'm aware that some people listening may also be suffering from the symptoms themselves. So please feel free to write in the chat, and I'll help you where I can. And otherwise, listen, I hope you've got your pens and paper ready. And anyway, you can always WhatsApp text me afterwards. I will show you a slide with my contact details on it, and we can go from there. But we don't need to suffer. I think that's the main thing. We want people to be thinking clearly, living productively, and be able to purify the body. I think that's the most important thing. And it's much, much broader than just one incident in 2019, 2020. To purify our bodies, we're purifying our bodies from really long-term toxins. And I am referring to those parasites that are not sensitive, not going to react to the normal conventional antibiotics, etc. So let's work with tried and trusted nutrients, detox herbs, alchemy, fermentation, enzymes, and work with what we know works time and again. Time is moving, and we don't have time to waste, and we want good results quickly. So welcome everybody. Let me pull the slide through, show through, and that's already, let me start it. And yes, so healing from the long-term COVID and post-vax trauma. So I'm a holistic quantum wellbeing practitioner, and I think that really sums up everything holistically. And we have the 365 Healthy by Choice Center here in Bryanston, which is a global center. What do I mean by that is that we use the quantum epics, quantum zeroid devices, which reach around the world, and work in the subspace, work with the quantum field itself, and connecting to the subconscious. And so there's a two-way interplay between the quantum software and the person's subconscious. And then we've got our chronic disease clinic in Bryanston, where we deal with exactly as it says. And then the 365 Healthy by Choice, natural food state, plant-based quantum state nutrients. And most of this information, a lot of it is on my YouTube. There must be over 300 educational videos loaded already on the site. So I urge you to go and have a look and do the usual like, subscribe, and comment, and immerse yourself in the field of quantum medicine. And I believe I'm a pioneer in that, and I like to believe I'm one of the leaders in this. And I say that too because I've spent all those hours on my doctorate, which is entitled HIELO, Holistic Integrated Epigenetic Life Orientation, a multidimensional holistic quantum well-being framework. So I've spelt it out there, and worked with top researchers around the world. So it's lovely to interact with them and work from that point. So everything I do is encompassed in the HIELO process, of course, because it will be holistic, will be integrated. We're always looking at the epigenetics and, orientating our life accordingly. So we're going to move from reset, restore, rejuvenate, rejoice, as a process within the HIELO. That's not the subject of today. You can look at previous recordings on that. And I just want to refresh our memories, and I'm definitely not going to open this too wide, but I think you can open your screens. So there's a lot of causes of long-term COVID and post-vax traumas. And a lot of these causes were actually there before sort of 2019, and they're still here. So we need to work with prevention. It's always better than waiting when it's too late. And I always say that, at 365 Healthy by Choice, we have a choice, and we can choose choice every day of the year. It's not a trend, it's a journey. And I'm not going to be pulling chapters out of books and revising and rewriting, because when you work with the quantum field, you're working with wisdom, which is beyond knowledge, which is beyond belief. We've definitely put belief to bed. Knowledge is good, but then you become very left brain, very logical in your head, and it's not always exact. So we want to work with the universal wisdom, those fields. So any body that is acidic with lots of inflammation is going to predispose themselves to disease, disorder, physically and emotionally. Those people that have very low mRNA, messenger RNA, which are derived genetic fragments, will have low amino acid synthesis as building blocks. So the body won't be able to access the protein, amino acids to rebuild right from the genetic code, the DNA, the chromosomes, to the cell and the tissue, the organ and the system. That's very, very important. And I've got products that you can say plug and play, that fit into these possible causes. We just don't want the terrain there, begging for disease to arrive. Low iron is incredibly important because iron carries oxygen. Oxygen is king and queen. And, that's just my fave. It has to be, because it's the primary nutrient after things like almost gold alongside almost gold, sunlight, earth, electrons. It's the one we have direct access to, and it's free. So the bone marrow needs to be operating properly, because from an immunity point of view, we need to have enough stem cells, blood cells, white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets, immunoglobulins, NK cells, T cells. We have to have an element of high element of immunity there. We need those cells. The hypothalamus needs to be operating to direct the kidney to release erythropoietin, which acts on the bone marrow to start producing the stem cells and all these other cells. So you can't really get away from it if the hypothalamus is calcified. If it's not getting the message from the body's crying out for, let's say, white blood cells, the message won't get there, and the kidney won't operate, and nor will the hormones be released. Blocked lungs, well, that's obviously a given, because if the gut's blocked and the lungs are blocked, you're not going to be getting the petrol to the engine. We need to get the oxygen and the food to the cell in order to interact with the electrons and make ATP, GTP, CTP, and TTP. So very important, all of that. I've covered this in previous YouTube videos. Sometimes there's too much mucus, there's a film, a biofilm growing over the lung, there's parasites living in it, there's toxins lodged there, the carbon dioxide level is too big because we're not taking a full breath, nicotine is affecting it, we're getting calcification, often a lack of oxygen in the first place being able to be transferred over. So we do need that flaxseed oil. We do need the microbiome research, which contains not only water hydrolyzing enzymes for the transfer of water to the blood, but the oxygen transfer enzymes as well. Highly important, highly critical and then we'll get energy and ATP. So poor breathing, I've kind of touched on that. Little exercise, poor posture, those are givens. You know, you're going to build up mucus, and a pool of mucus is going to be infected and organisms will grow. Low immunity relating to not only the bone marrow, but also tonsils, your thymus, your lymph, the gut appendix, the spleen, the changed genetic profile, and low amino acid peptides. So the gut is responsible for 75% of our immunity, and then the bone marrow will be the rest of it. So you can't rely on the bone marrow only. We have to have a very high level of effective beneficial organisms in us in order to do the work. That brings in the microbiome reset product of ours. I'll just interleave products with symptoms and causes and side effects. So low enzymes, always when there's low enzymatic activity, you're not going to have a high life force. You're not going to have the energy. Enzymes operate at the interface between kinetic energy and potential energy, and kinetic energy. So the body needs kinetic energy to move, to shift for all the processes that I've talked about. And you get a lot of those are in fruit, but some of them are metabolic as well. Poor nutrition, obviously, fried food, my number one favorite, processed food, white bread, white rice, white potatoes, corn, peanuts, all of those foods that are stored because they develop a mycotoxin, which is a parasite. Poor sleep, we've got to recharge the immunity, the nerve cells. Poor hydration, well, you're not going to carry and be able to dilute toxins. First of all, food to the cell, but toxins away from the cell. No, have to have. Lack of sunlight. Well, I posted recently about olden day hospitals, but as early as 1900s, they actually had sun beds. They pushed the patients' beds into the sun, the value of the sun. And then came 1910 and the Flexner report and just abandoned anything natural. In fact, any medical school or medic that practiced anything natural was closed down. Slowly creeping back. A lot of that's in my doctorate. And then overweight, that's a very big problem. Underweight too, it also can be parasitic, but we're dealing mostly with obesity, metabolic disorders, which is relating to blood pressure, blood sugar, degeneration, and organ failure, and of course the radiation. So these are possible causes. And let me just go to the next slide. I want to talk about the symptoms. So before we go to the suggested list, let's just look at some of the symptoms, and feel free also to add in the chat anything you want to add. But basically, the core problems that we're seeing specifically would be intense fatigue, interfering with daily activities, actually getting worse with a little minimal of effort. So I have people that you could term long-term COVID, but it's actually long-term Lyme's disease, for example. So all of these long-term chronic diseases fit into this. So you know the cause. All right. Brain fog, memory concentration difficulties, post-exertional malaise, symptoms worsen after physical and mental activity, shortness of breath or breathing difficulties, chest pain, heart palpitations. On the neurological, physiological side, headaches, dizziness, vertigo, sleep disturbances such as insomnia. You wake up, you're not refreshed, leading then to depression, anxiety, mood swings. I can just name, 10, 20, 30 clients like this that are suffering from this, whether they had COVID or not, whether they're vaxxed or not. These are chronic disease symptoms. From the gastrointestinal and autonomic nervous system, bloating, diarrhea, nausea, postural orthostatic tachycardia, that's the heart, irregular heartbeats, And I would say those would be, in the main. And that's where we come in, and I bring my HIELO system in, which is based on authenticity and truth, doing a benchmark assessment, looking at the root causes, resetting the body, restoring, rejuvenating, and finally rejoicing, because we're doing the emotional work as well. So it's a physical and an emotional reset. And what we're really doing is we're harmonizing the body, reharmonizing it, bringing back the balance, the yin and the yang. And very often on the EPICS quantum devices, it measures actually, the client is too yang, too masculine, the client is too yin, too feminine. We need to balance that. So that's all important in every single thing we do, even the foods we choose. And I will be doing a beautiful webinar on holistic eating, nutrition, and basing it on yin and yang. So we can also interrupt our energy field by eating too much yang food, for example, too much meat. And on the other hand, too much veg. So you want to actually balance it and bring in, proteins in terms of nuts and seeds, sprouts, and healthy carbohydrates to balance the yin and the yang. Anyway, that's for another time, but it's important for this as well. And that's how we are able to detox. This is how I detox the body and restore. In the West, it's called homeostasis. In the East, it's called harmony. Happiness and harmony. So there we go. So I'll use the EPICS quantum device, which is the latest. And I've just been recording what's new and what's latest and what's been upgraded. And I can't wait to share that with you, with the Professor Desjardins, the inventor of these devices. And it really is reaching to other levels. I'm just surprised every time I open up the new software. It's not stopping. It's just escalating as we speak. So we would do that to assessment before and afterwards. We would do live blood analysis for sure. I just find that the clients absolutely love it, because finally they're getting a physical representation of their blood cells, which represents the rest of their cells, but they can relate to it. It's not abstract. It's in front of them, and they can compare before and afterwards and see the visible difference. And it's so beautiful to see the face light up when they see these beautiful red cells gliding across the screen. And then we will do definitely the holistic ancestral emotional releases, because I think, as you all know now, the body speaks the mind. The physical presentation is representing it's a symptom of the emotional disorder every single time. Okay, maybe 1% of the time it's not, but I still believe 100% of the time. And this is actually proven conclusively scientifically by professors worldwide. So that's in my doctorate as well. Not that I need endorsement, because when I work in the field, I know there's no doubt. Acupuncture, this is beautiful. It's also nonverbal. So the EPICS device is nonverbal. The quantum field is nonverbal. The how work is nonverbal. The distance reconstructive healing is nonverbal. So I think you're getting it. Acupuncture is nonverbal as well. I like to use it because I get powerful results. And the client is able to relax, and the parasympathetic nervous is able to kick in. So I'm just finding my place. Is able to kick in and relax the client. So we're getting, again, a yin and a yang between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. And the parasympathetic nervous system is where the healing happens. All the digestion, elimination, circulation. So those would be my kind of modalities. And then regarding the products, I'm going to show you now. And then you'll be able to see on the website tomorrow. Well, actually, the products are all on the website, but I'm going to put it into like a package kind of thing. But before I do the products, one of the main critical, crucial aspects to this is our intravenous chronic disease oxygen maximizer drip. It is absolutely astounding. I had a client with disease. Look, I just hope that this video slips through the bots. But anyway, she's had this disease for well over 12 years. She was a model, you can imagine, and her face is just, it's gouged out from the lesions that are left from these chronic diseases. And she spent a lot of money everywhere, loads of money. Anyway, the universe brought her to me. I can't actually remember how. Anyhow, we put her on the CDS water and the intravenous oxygen drips. We did 3 drips and we did 6 days of CDS water. Put her on the Apex. She's moderately unhealthy or healthy. I put her blood onto the live blood analysis. I could not see the spirochetes. 9 days later, I could not see the spirochetes. There were damaged red blood cells wherein the spirochetes grow and live. I could see those. But normally, the blood is riddled, especially someone like this who suffered for years and years and years and years. That's 9 days. And I've got many, many, many of these testimonies, but this is just fresh and first and foremost in my mind. So these are absolutely crucial. Right, let's have a look. Let's go back to the slides because I think it will be easier for you to follow. So here is a suggested list. And, you know, sometimes it grows and things change and, oh, I'm so nervous to expand this. All right. I've got slides after this on most of these, which I have presented before. So there's another presentation, another video on YouTube, also called Long-Term COVID, which was done about a year and a half ago. So this is slightly updated, but I urge you to go there because sometimes you hear things for a second and a third time, and you know, you hear it. Anyway, I'll show you some of these products. The Almost Gold Elixir is a given. I'll talk about it now. That CDS water I spoke to you about. Got to do that, especially if the client is so weak. Not every time. Then the Cell Vitality Oxy Mineral drops. The DMSO drops. I'll speak about that now it's coming. The Para-Immune Defense is an absolute must because this is now, while we're doing oxygen drops, we're doing an alchemical or Almost Gold, we're doing herbal and food Para-Immune Defense, mostly herbal. Here I've combined the world's top herbs for all viruses, funguses, bacteria, parasites. And then that replica RNA, you saw on the slide before, many times I referred to proteins. So in the replica RNA, you get the 5 top building block proteins of the entire body, the entire genetic code. You get the 4 proteins for same out of the 5 for ATP, CTP, TTP, and GTP energy. So that should be in your shopping basket before you even go anywhere, because if you don't have the proteins, we're not going to get this right. The microbiome reset, have to have, I talked too many times about that because it's got the enzymes for food and oxygen transfer through the membrane and into the cell. It's 75% of our immunities in the gut. Flaxseed oil have to have, lines the mucous membrane of the lung and the gut and many other mucous membranes. But if we don't have that there, we're not going to get transfer of oxygen and food. Okay, now we're talking about some more minerals here. Shilajit, because the Almost Gold has got the gold, silver, copper, platinum, nickel, iridium, ruthenium, palladium, 10 of them. Not in the soil, not really in the food anymore either. So those would be your superconductive metal minerals. Have to have. The battery won't start. We would never mind making protein. If we can't put the light on, we are definitely not going to get off base 1. So we have to have, not maybe. Anybody has to have the battery charged. So the superconductors do it. So do the 84 minerals in something like a shilajit, which is the mother of fulvic acid and more. So you're getting all those minerals plus the antioxidants. Fabulous. All bioavailable, ready to get going in the body, ready to charge that battery. And then we're going to need something like a zeolite, because that's going to absorb acidity. Number one at the top was causes acidity and inflammation, low oxygen. But yeah, zeolite is going to grab the toxins, help the gut as well. Most people, I'm going to say it, have got an absolutely messed gut. Because why? Because they've been on things like ivermectin for I don't know how many months, and so is their liver wrecked. I have a client right now, international overseas client, came here, wrecked gut and liver. So you take your choices. Plus, I showed her blood on the screen. You must see the organisms that are still floating there. Can't use synthetic things and hope to get a biological response. Not going to happen. Take your choices. Nattokinase and bromelain, those are enzymes. And now remember, I'm not only referring to the VAX, I'm also referring to, well, I am referring to that, but I'm not only referring to parasites in it and toxins in it, and when we contracted it, I'm also talking about GO, right? And we see it under the microscope. So we've got to now bring in these bottom ones. Apart from anything else, they will keep the blood naturally thin. So does the DMSO, but also remove scarring, degenerative tissue, and glass carbon. Very, very important. Glutathione's all in this. Glutathione is a master antioxidant. It's stronger than a vitamin C. We have glutathione and with Phyto C, but I'm just saying. Curcumin's always important, inflammation, and it does 101 things. And then we also bring in a diatomaceous earth, because that's, apart from bringing silica in, it's wonderful to detox, not more than 2 months. Hope you heard that. But it also helps decalcify. So if I'm giving you the list, but it's not as if I've done someone's scan. These have to be in. If the liver's failing, if they're calcifying, if there's too much fat in the blood, if the protein's not digesting, you've got to obviously address that. But I've addressed the main things that I'll see anyway on the microscope. So I hope this is making good sense to you. And I can't always see all of you, so, but anyway, let's go back here. So let's have a look at some of these prevention. Well, I've actually gone through it, but there are others that we can look at as well to build immunity. It wasn't exhausted. For example, bee pollen, propolis, royal jelly, spirulina, chlorella, blue-green algae. So my algae mix, my bee mix, and the brain fuel stress defense mix. That's what that's really just saying there. And also here, you see, if we need to build the immunity and the genetics, that male and female hormone are going to help, because they're going to set the brain, the hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal, the neurotransmitters, Mucuna powder, very good. The bone marrow and joints obviously going to help as well. The stem cells are definitely going to help the body. But so these sort of products will, while the body's catching up with, while the brain is starting to make hormones and neurotransmitters, and whilst the kidney is starting to send the erythropoietin to the bone marrow and it's starting to produce stem cells, there's nothing stopping you giving the activa stem cells, the bone marrow and joint, and the male and female hormone boost, and the mucuna to get it going. Plain enzymes we have in addition to the nattokinase and bromelain. Sometimes you've got to, and most times you have to address the acidity because the gut's too weak. There's not enough acid here, and they're very acid in the body. So you've got to reverse that. We need acid here, fire to digest, and we need alkalinity in the body. Zeolite's good for that. So just some stuff about Ormus. I'm not going to spend a long time because you can always replay it and have a relook. So here's some of those nutrients that I've just spoken about. Let's go here. This is almost gold, and I want to just show you what happens with plants who supposedly don't have our consciousness, right? There's the plant with no ormus. There's the plant with ormus. 1 year later. Here are the oranges. Year after year after year. Look at the size. When I measure it with the bricks, what's it called again? Bricks refractometer. You see that the degree of photosynthesis, changing the sunlight into glucose, increases every year, every season, which means you're getting higher nutritional value. Never mind the size, never mind the yield. The lemon juice gets darker and darker, more and more gold. And I've got a 25-year-old lemon tree here, so I know. So we feed it to the plants. Imagine what it's doing to us. I'll talk about that in a moment. So this again, walnuts. First this size, and then they produced it that size. Oh, leeks. Okay, I don't want to spend a lot of time. I just want to show you what it does. Almost gold, as ancient as it comes, and it's an M state quantum field substance. You can go and put in the search bar in the my YouTube channel, and there's lots of videos on ormus. So in my doctorate, as I said before, I merged modern quantic with ancient Eastern philosophies, and by merging it, showed how far quantum physics can measure ancient Eastern holism, up to the point where there are only words, because quantum physics can't measure nonverbal. Okay, so that's wow. Up to now it can't. But when you know, you know. And it refers to the almost gold unwinding the DNA spiral, allowing it to rewind up again. And remember, it's got to catch the amino acid nucleoproteins from the replica RNA DNA to wind up properly to reset the genetic code. So you need the almost gold and the replica RNA together. And that's what the last one says. So here are some that are just awesome. So this we used a lot, especially when there's a lung problem and there's an oxygen transfer problem. So it's either bee pollen, or you would use a combination of these. The supercell oxygen. And I've measured it, the oxygen, together with everything that I'm doing, obviously the oxygen levels shoot up. So we retrain the body to be able to absorb while we're waiting for the mucus to clear and the exercise to kick in and everything. The stem cells, I spoke about it. Very, very important. Everything that I'm talking to you about is basically loaded on that EPIX quantum zeroid device that we use. All measurable. So that's also, I've got evidence that my products work because I measured them on that machine too. So again, ahead of the time, let's give some stem cells. Here's the really famous replica RNA DNA. And then the phyto C, well, I've got about 12 super herbs and foods in there. 12 different molecular arrangements of phytosterols, vitamin C, all the antioxidants. Imagine. And that's just it's a bomb. It just takes off. So, using the word bomb, I mean, those people that go for, let's talk about that. The people that go for those intravenous IVs, I can do it here too, but actually the stuff expires. I've got packets of it having expired because I thought it was going to. You're talking about synthetic vitamin C, synthetic vitamin B. There's only 3 vitamin Bs that they've made. You're not getting a vitamin B combo. There are 20 vitamin Bs just to start with. So if you're taking something like my Brain Fuel, my Stress Defense Shield, where there's 30 natural nutrients and herbs, you're going to get all 20 plus 25 or 30 that haven't even been discovered yet. So let's rely and let's leave things to nature. There's no guesswork. Let's leave things in the natural state. Fully, DNA fully intact, intelligence fully intact, in the quantum state, in the quantum field, able to work physically, neurologically, emotionally, and spiritually inside you to assist your transformation. You take your chances. You want synthetic vitamin C in you, ascorbic acid. You want synthetic vitamin B. You take your chances. When you're putting it straight in the vein, you are circumventing the liver. Do you think your blood actually wants that? It's kind of an adulteration. Do you think it wants to suddenly just be, you've got this synthetic vitamin C, it doesn't know what to do with it. It's got to change it, use its energy rapidly to change it into a quantum form that it can use. I don't know, you can choose. Okay, let's see what else we got here. So that's our phyto C. And you'll see there's baobab and rosehip and all sorts of, just don't want to make it too large. Okay, B-mix. So this is just endless. It's on the website. As you go on the 365 Healthy by Choice website, the practitioners know they spend a lot of time there. All the whole 365 Healthy by Choice, my whole brochure is on there. The information is on there. So you're going to see, look at that list of things that the bee pollen, bee mix, propolis, these are givens if people are ill. I've even got a baby and we're putting the baby 6 months and we're putting the bee pollen inside the mouth. The baby's still breastfeeding and the pollen is getting absorbed straight into the bloodstream. Almost gold, microbiome reset, straight in, we're using the mucosal membrane here. Yeah, and that baby, that house is full of mold, and that baby 6 months old is vomiting up mucus. So you want to live in a mold-ridden house? Well, again, you're going to take your chances. But collagen. So this is an interesting one. Let's talk about collagen. We need it. It's an protein amino acid. And it does boost our immune system. But if our kidney is full of protein, blocked, and you're going to give it even more, you are just heading for a blocked kidney, stones, pain, inflammation. So you have to be wary. Why do we need collagen? That's the question. Because the parasites dissolve it. So you can fill your shopping basket with all sorts of collagens, whatever source you want. If you don't get rid of the cause, you're never gonna have enough collagen because you're gonna be feeding the very things that are dissolving it for you. I'm not gonna really see that written in textbooks, I don't think. Anyway, so here that's collagen, right? So we've got that. We've also got a plant-based vegan, in other words, collagen builder. We've got, I said, ahead of the game, we could always give hormones, female hormones. This is completely natural, works for lots of things anyway. We've got a male hormone boost, exactly the same. Bringing in naturally occurring plant-based hormones. The body takes what it wants. The body will balance itself. You see? Because hormones, let's say your serotonin, let's say your estrogen level is higher than your progesterone level. So people will give progesterone, but maybe they're both low. You need both. So then the progesterone goes higher. Just saying. We can't work with guesswork anymore. Those days are over. The belief is over. That's why people are spending thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions to get well because of guesswork. Take your chances. Okay, this is the bone marrow boost. Should we need that? I'm going to go there. All right, and get that working. Here are the stress defense shields, brain fuels, extreme performance boosts. These are ancient. in a sense. I mean, I formulated them ages ago. There's no need to adjust the formula. Then you're going to get your nutrients. High-level nutrients not found in lettuce. And they're going to work on building your immunity and correcting those symptoms that I read out to you. You can see they're all listed there. And on the smoothie and on the website, you'll see all the nutrients, the 30 nutrients in there. In fact, there they are there at the top. So it's a capsule or a smoothie. You don't have to buy 30 packets. I put it in there for you. Even aromatase inhibitors. Those are very important because of the xenoestrogens, the plastic. Every time we pick up our pen, our phone, our toothbrush, the toothpaste, it's plastic. So it's called xenoestrogens. And then we get an unbalanced estrogen level. And you all know what that leads to. And then, so that's just what the smoothies and the bottle capsules look like. I've got loads of testimonies you could go and read. And there's ending the information. So those of you who are new, you can copy this down. And these recordings are uploaded. So you'll get it. If you've registered, you will get it. And there any questions, let me know. But I think what I've done is consolidate this list for you so that make it easier. And again, you know, I could be adding one or two things going forward, but again, you know, you get it gets to an exhausted list because nature's nature. We're not really producing more plants, you know, more foods. They're there. So, and the last thing we want really are hybridized plants because, again, you've altered the genetics, you've altered the DNA. So much of our food, wheat, it's interfered with. When I was 16, I did my project at school on wheat. Already then, we were talking about the hybridization, the intolerance to gluten. And imagine now, you know, something like over 40 years later, we're still eating wheat. So I always say to people, use your common sense, go back to nature. Can I eat this? Before you ask me that, just ask yourself, is it in the natural state? And that'll be your answer. Before you even worry about blood group, is it in the natural state? Is it white? Has it had all the bran removed? Has it had, that kind of thing. All right, so that's what I wanted to share today, and I hope I've enlightened you and given you some information. And I'm just going to say again, it's not only the long-term COVID or the post-vax trauma. This is lifelong, some of these things. And it just happens that everything is encompassed in the same side effects, symptoms. So until next week, have a good week.